how about we get into it, get started? Welcome
All
everyone to
right.
Lawyers Who Stream, our second official episode. With us today are the co-founders of Legal Listening, Carly Leons and Zach Batiston. Welcome. Very excited to chat with you guys and hear all things legal listening. Gonna have you introduce yourselves first. What's your names? Where are you from? And how'd you get here?
Carly, you want to go first?
Okay, I will go first. So I'm Carly Lyons. I'm from Niagara, but I'm currently in Windsor. It's where I've lived since I went to law school here, starting in 2017. I went to law school as an older student. I'd actually worked in law. I managed an accident benefits department at a PI firm for a while and had a bunch of other super fun interim jobs of varying degrees of good and badness. And then I ended up at Windsor, really liked it. I'm almost done articles. I graduated last year from Windsor with Zach in 2020, and I'm just about done. I think my contract's officially over in 6 weeks, like the May long weekend.
Wow.
So yeah, it might be extended a bit longer, but that's the date I'm sort of running with. So yeah, almost done. We'll be called at a date to be determined because we don't know. So anytime from mid-May to the end of June at some point in there. And yeah, we just, started the pod last summer, and it's been a crazy wild ride, and it's been awesome. Honestly, I've gotten to meet people in this community, like the law community at large, that I don't think I ever would have met if it wasn't for the podcast. It's certainly like the most amazing networking opportunity, which is totally not what we designed it to be. It just on accident ended up to be. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Great. And Zach, how about you?
So I'm from Windsor, and Eagle Eye viewers will notice my Windsor Law degree right there. So I also went to Windsor Law with my two fellow friends here today. Not much to add beyond what Carly said, but really, I think the most interesting thing about the podcast is just how positive the reception's been. And like Carly said, people talk to me about it that I never would have spoken to before. Like there's so much cool stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into. And I don't want to jump the shark too much and get all into it, but I'm excited to talk about it, you know?
Great. I will give a disclosure here. I'm also an alumni of Windsor Law. I was at Windsor in my third year while you were just starting in your first year. I got that right.
Yeah, you were
I believe
my
Zach, I was your
TA for
for
constitutional law.
Yeah,
Thank you, Teddy.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was
group
gonna
of
say
friends
you
loved
wrote
by the
all.
way.
I was gonna say Teddy did all the emails for pills.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right, too.
I was the secret. I was the secret pills director as well.
Yes.
Yeah, you saved us in constitutional law in 1L between
Wow.
Claire, Chris, Steph, and I. Like after every tutorial, we're like, "Thank God Teddy's here." What is
So nice.
what is POG?
Y'all-
Someone tell me.
What is POG? We don't know anymore. POG is
Yeah, I know
been-
we don't know.
Since this latest decision, POG is who knows what it is. But anyways, we're not here to talk about POG. Those days are behind me. Let's talk about the podcast. Why a podcast? Where did this spark? It's such a unique idea. It's so great. I think you're not the first people to do a legal focused podcast, certainly. But it seems like you're the first ones, to my knowledge, to take this approach of audio recording judgments and summaries and bringing it to the people. So where did that kind of spark of inspiration come from?
Yeah, Twitter. I was gonna say, literally, it was a tweet that we saw. Someone, Uber and Heller was released, and someone tweeted, and I'm being absolutely terrible right now, and I cannot remember her name, but we did credit her on the tweet thread. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, but she said sort of like, "Oh, I need to read this decision, and I wish I could just listen to it." And then I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And like, especially something like text to speech doesn't really work nice with legal decisions because so much of the language is specialized and it contains so many citations that to do something that long as text to speech just isn't really feasible. Like it's not something you're ever going to do because it's just not an easy thing to listen to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sort of put out feelers and we're like, if we did this, would people be interested in this? And Zach's like, hey, if you want to do this, like I want to be on board. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of funny how like little ideas like that on Twitter or like one comment on that, it almost feels like an offhanded comment you'd hear in a conversation. And I had been wanting to podcast for a little while, and I saw Carly start the discussion. I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, why don't we have audio recordings? Because yeah, I don't want to listen to Siri tell me the in-text citation when there's like, like those really big chunky in-text citations where it cites a case that cites a case that cites a case. Like that would sound terrible. So yeah, that's where we came from with it, and it's just turned out to be awesome.
Yeah, it's funny actually because the idea for this show, it's a very similar source. It came from a tweet. I believe it was Jennifer Chan. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. She was talking about for the thread was about Clubhouse, but she also mentioned like, hey, there's sort of a gap of video content right now for lawyers, and anyone who wanted to get into doing video on YouTube could probably do fairly well. And I thought like, well, I have sort of the equipment to do a live broadcast. What about Twitch? And then Gurteg Singh, who was on our first episode, that unfortunately is now lost to time because it was not recorded. But Gurteg came on. Shout out to him. He was totally on board with doing a pilot episode with me, and yeah, that's where we got started, and here we are. So it all comes from just being part of the community on Twitter. So many good things seem to be coming from that these days.
Yeah, definitely. And it's weird because I think there's a dearth of content in the law community in general. Really, like
in terms of
considering
like new media, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like it. If you just even look at like other industries and stuff. I'm thinking specifically of chiropractors, but I think they're like the other end. I think they're like very involved in the. No, oh my God, have you not heard of chiropractor YouTube?
Not at all.
Oh boy,
this is something I haven't even heard
You
of.
need to look it up. But like they're like as a profession, they're like very forward on like the socials and sort of content production. And I think law is sort of the opposite. Like I think we're just not. And I get it. Like there's very valid reasons around people's hesitancy towards entering this type of thing. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool with all these, connecting with people on all these other projects in this new media world, especially in COVID. I really think that COVID, because everyone was so isolated from everyone else, I think it really created a breeding ground to allow this stuff to flourish in a way that I'm not sure it might have had COVID not happened.
Yeah, it's definitely given more people time at home and given an incentive to want to connect in these ways, find ways to still be involved, get together with the community. And there's been, flourishing of output on digital media during this time. It's that and the modernization of the courts might be the two good things to actually come of this.
Definitely.
Yes.
And I think it's also generational too, right? I think we're more equipped for the podcasting and streaming kind of services. We kind of grew up with them, I guess, so to speak, to an extent, or we kind of acclimated to them well. So to me, it almost feels like a natural progression to kind of bring this content online and make it more accessible in the digital medium than opposed to, a standard blog post, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I would never think to write a blog. It's just kind of outside of my purview of what I do on the internet. I don't read blogs. I do now for law reasons, but I think digital stuff like this, I think we're going to hopefully see more of it. I think it's better.
Yeah, I think blogs kind of took a foothold early, and I'm sort of drawing on some lessons from course I'm in grad school right now. Blogs are, they're a great way of disseminating legal information, but they're also kind of an extension of what was happening before. It's print media, but taken to a new space online, and so lawyers are very well equipped to do that. Even lawyers of like an older generation, but this sort of leap to audio and video is a very new thing, and yeah, I think it's awesome. You two obviously knew each other back in law school. You were already friends. Did you think that you were going to be working together on something like this, like back when you were leaving school?
I won't. No. Yeah, I was gonna say no. I won't lie to you. Like literally last March and April and May are like a blur. Like I don't even. They might as well have not have happened because I don't really remember them. So, the end of law school was just, especially for our year, it was like such a hurried, frenzied mess because we were just, going to school one day and then we weren't the next, and everything just sort of ended with no time to plan anything, and it was really weird. So, certainly, like obviously Zach is my friend, so it's like I will obviously keep talking to Zach, but it's like I don't think I necessarily envisioned like, oh yeah, like let's start this like part-time job project that's going to take up all of our free time during articling and stuff. It's like, no, I don't think it happened till it happened, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like we would often hang out. I had legal profession, so I would come and hang out with Carly during her office hours in 3L, but I don't think even at that time I'd considered ever really doing anything with the podcast. And it just kind of happened one day. It's so weird to describe because it almost feels like it's in a movie or like a sitcom on TV. Like snap, there was an idea and then all of a sudden we became like business partners. It just happened overnight, which is like cliche and weird to say, but it's true. And I think it works out well because Carly and I, we basically see eye to eye on almost everything. So we make naturally good like partners on this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely consider Zach like my law school little brother. Even though I have a little brother, Zach's like
Who's
my
in law
little.
school.
Who's
Yeah,
in
you have another law school little brother.
Who's actually
literal
like
one.
who's literally 5 years older than Zach.
Yeah, that's the
Zach,
sweetest irony.
but Zach's still my law school little brother. So yeah, he's totally right. Like we get on really well, and yeah, it's weird. We went from like, look at this cool thing to like, now we have microphones to like, Zach, you need to get to the bank to sign the director's papers like within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, you incorporated?
Yeah,
Are you incorporated?
oh yeah,
yeah,
we're officially a not-for-profit. Yeah.
Congratulations.
That was all me. That was a fun little homework task, I guess, to call.
Mm-hmm.
All Zach. Zach did all the incorporation paperwork.
The business stuff, which I have no stuff. Background in.
Yeah, congrats from the chat.
Thanks, Tasha.
So I jumped on early as a guest reader, just by seeing tweets. Have you had any trouble finding guest readers? Do you need to seek them out, or are people just really coming to you to be involved with this?
Yeah, no, we get a lot of people offer to guest read. I would say our biggest thing is, so like recording this stuff, and Teddy will know because you did a very long decision. Recording this stuff can be
very long. Yeah,
it's like gargantuan.
I think mine came in at about 4 hours.
Yeah, it's really long. Yeah. So it's like doing this stuff can be really hard. And especially if you're not used to doing voice recording. So to try to keep your voice at the same like cadence and level and speed, like it's really hard. It's really hard to do it. So we have tons of people offer to read, and like, we're trying to be very encouraging and very supportive, but we've definitely learned that if someone offers to read something really long, we try to steer them towards reading something shorter first, just so like they can get the hang of it. And then if they're like, okay, like, yeah, this is something I can totally do, like then take on a bigger project. Because we were finding that when people would offer to read really long cases, we don't get them, right? Because it's like life gets in the way. It's a huge chunk of time. It's a very big commitment, and it's it's hard to ask that of someone. And obviously we're not going to be like, hey, you promised me this by this day, where is it? Like, no way. It's volunteer. Everyone's doing their best. So it's, I think we've had like 4 or 5 people offer to read Vavilov, and no one has successfully completed it yet because it's so long. So it's that sort of thing where it's just like, that's really the only hiccup with guest readers. But in terms of volume and stuff, no, everybody's been really great.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had taken that advice to start with a shorter decision when I started out. But hey, I got it done eventually.
Yeah, we had to learn that one. It took Harley and I a little bit before we started warding people off from trying to read Vavilov, because we realized that we were getting kind of burnt out on doing these like massive SEC cases, right? Mm-hmm. And somebody comes in, they're like, oh, I would love to read Vavilov. And you're like, look, Vavilov isn't that interesting unless you're like a really big time administrative law junkie and you really like to discuss that. And even then, it's tedious to read Supreme Court decisions. They're just not meant to be read out loud.
Yeah.
So
and well, depending on who's writing it, but some of them are better than others. But no, it's definitely at the end. Me and Zach get burned out from reading extensively too, right? So it's like, he's totally right. Someone will come along and ask to read this like really long case that we know we need to get recorded, but that like one of us is going to have to do. And if someone comes along and is like, yeah, totally, like I'll read Blenco or whatever, we're just like, yeah, please do. And then you realize you're like, okay, no, like it's not fair for us to just be like, hi, person who's never had any recording experience, please record this 6-hour thing. It's like, no, you have to like make sure they realize what they're getting into and the type of time it might take and limits of tech and that sort of thing. Plus, like, I don't know, with me, I just get really thirsty. And so it's like, I have to take many breaks because I'm always like drinking, and then I have to pee, and then I have to come back. Like, it's not as smooth as it sounds when it gets released. There are many, many breaks in the things we record.
Yes. And there was a process for taking care of that, which we'll get into in a bit if we're still game for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. That brings up an interesting point actually, because thinking about these decisions, they're often not written to be meant to be read out loud. Some of them are, quite a few Superior Court decisions, the judges write with the idea that they're going to read this out loud in court to the defendant and whatnot. But were you surprised that by how well those judgments actually translated to an audio form and what the reception was like?
I can tell you by the judge how easy it's going to be to read
Mhm.
it. And like, obviously I'm not like, I will not disparage any justices publicly, but like, I can tell if like a decision has 5 decisions.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, this one's going to take way longer, even though it's less paragraphs, just because of the style, right? Like they're not writing it to be read aloud.
Yeah.
So some justices will have like page long paragraphs and sentences, and it's, you know, like I have to read it like 5 times out loud before I even understand the syntax of the sentence, because it's like it just doesn't make any sense, especially when you're trying to read it out loud, right? Because like you're not sort of taking that mental break in your mind that you take when you're reading it and you're not saying it. So I've definitely had some sentences where it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 attempts just to get the syntax right, because it didn't make any sense in my brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, they're certainly my favorite justices. Like certainly anything written by Justice Sabella or Justice McLaughlin, it's like, oh, perfect. Like this is going to be super easy to read and it's going to be very understandable. Or Justice Nakatsuru.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah, his stuff's also great. Super easy to read. Justice Pomerantz, super easy to read.
Yep.
But again, it's like they're not writing it. It's not like it's a criticism even of their legal writing, right? Because like they're not writing it to be said aloud. They're writing it to be read, right? So it's a different audience.
You know, there's a very interesting guy actually in my graduate studies class who is researching judicial audience actually, and part of his research was on judicial audience and, you know, who do judges write for, why do they write the way they write. There's this whole corner of scholarship around like literary judgments as well, where judgments are written almost like a story, and how effective is that actually. And I'm wondering, with their judgments now being consumed auditorily, if judges might start to think about like, what will this sound like being read out loud? That's also an accessibility thing, you know, making it easier to understand if it's being read to someone as opposed to being read off of a page or through some sort of text-to-speech converter.
Yeah, to me, I think just kind of springboarding off that, in particular, Justice Nakatsuru writes in that way. When you read his, or when I was reading his decisions, I don't remember which one, I think it was Sleds. I was literally moved to tears the entire time I was recording it, because it was so easy to read and it was so easy to get into the story that he was telling through his judgment, because you could tell he was trying to convey it to the individual, not to counsel, not to an appeal court or another judge. He was writing it for the person. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, at that level of judgment, at least at kind of like that trial bail level, that's who the audience should be in that case, right? Because it's for the accused. Absolutely. Obviously, this changes, you know, as we move up the ladder of appeals, your audience will naturally change. But that is a good question, though. You know, are judgments going to change? Or are we going to stick to, you know, the textbooks behind me filled with very long written decisions that don't transcribe well when spoken aloud?
Well, maybe what you guys are doing will start to move things a little bit, start to move the conversation. We can only hope. Right?
Oh, I don't know, maybe. Or maybe they'll do the opposite and start writing them more complicated on purpose.
Just to foil you?
Know. Just to foil me.
Oh, no.
No, and it's, you know, Zach's totally right, though, but the levels of court, too, right? Because something that, you know, an accused is going to hear obviously needs to have a different level of accessibility than something that's going before a court where every party is represented. Yeah. Like, it's just going to be different, and there's nothing good nor bad about that. Like, it is just going to be a different thing because you are writing for a primarily different audience. Same with tribunals. Like, we're just now sort of trying to work on getting tribunal decisions up, and, you know, tribunal decisions are written in a totally different way than many legal decisions, because something like the Labor Relations Board has self-represented parties all the time. So those adjudicators are writing in a way that is going to be more accessible because it has to be, because they're self-represented parties. So I think audience definitely plays a role. And, you know, certainly my own like personal annoyance at certain decisions, like that doesn't hold for anything, right? Like, it's just like my own annoyances. It doesn't really speak to like the level or quality of the writing. It's just like me personally, I can find it difficult to read those things out loud just because some decisions are just a sludge, right? Like, they're very long.
Yeah, but we all get through it one way or another.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you the story of Obert or the Owl.
That's all you, Zach.
That is all me. So Carly and I were thinking about, like, what are we going to do for a logo? And I don't know. I'll assume the audience members, just for everyone's benefit, the Supreme Court of Canada has a mascot, and it's an owl. And we decided, we're like, look, we were originally going to read Supreme Court of Canada decisions for students. That was the original goal of the project. It's since changed, but that's still kind of, one of our important pillars. And I was like, our logo should reflect a similar one to that of the Supreme Court of Canada, because that's what we're going to rely on. So maybe if the Supreme Court's mascot had, for example, like a sibling of some kind or other. So I have a friend, she's a graphic artist, Julie Lindy. Her work's amazing. It's featured on our page, and she's the one who designed our logo. And I was like, Julie, I want an owl wearing headphones, and I need to show you, because it's hard to explain to somebody. I want a Supreme Court of Canada mascot made into a logo that is our own, and we're not just stealing their image, obviously. So that's really where it came from, and we're like, and it just stuck. It looks regal, it looks nice, it's fun, and it was just a fun little experiment that we threw together at the last minute.
And for people who are watching that might not know, what's the meaning of the word obiter?
Carly?
Oh, it's just like obiter. Well, it just means like other things in the decision that aren't actually what the decision's about.
Talking.
So like, just like talking for like a tangent, if you will. Like it's obiter. It's not actually like the focus of the decision. It's not related to the ratio or analysis. It's just extra for bonus fun. So we figured obiter would be a good name for the mascot, especially since audio obiter is our hashtag, because we go on some pretty fun tangents in some of those episode intros. And we end up talking about stuff that's like not even remotely related to the case. So
we love to have our own obiter, right?
Yes,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah, and those intros are super fun. They always get me into it, getting ready to listen to the judgment.
The best are the times when we have to record them twice, because we get the decision wrong, or like we confuse what it's about. Because like we're familiar with most of the cases, and like we obviously do prep before we do, because we record all the intros at once for like a batch of episodes. And so we have like a sheet, and like we go through and we have our notes and stuff. But sometimes like for some reason we'll just get facts confused, because like we've read many cases.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, there's definitely been times where we've recorded a whole intro and we're just like,
that was not
no, that wasn't right. That was a different case. We have to do this again.
what was we did it with the assault one. That's the one that I remember the most.
I think we got Creighton and Mabin backwards.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And there's the one, and I know I recorded it. It's the one with the manslaughter charge with the epiglottis. I remember because Professor Tanovich.
Oh, was that the hockey case, or one of the hockey cases? Yeah.
So
it's one of the hockey cases. There's two. Yes. One deals with being able to consent to assault, which you can't do in Canada.
Right.
And then the other is manslaughter and like intent to kill. And the facts are so similar, but so different. And in my brain, I was like, this is totally one case. It was one.
Yeah, it's either.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, Queen's Law guy says Smithers and Jobadon. It's one of those two.
Thank you. Yes.
No, that's what we did. Yeah. And it was, we literally got through it and we're just like, shit. Hold on. That's wrong. We have to do that again.
We have to start all over.
Yeah, especially when like the decisions cite each other, right? Like it's like sometimes they just get mixed up in your brain, or when we've read a bunch of them at once, it's hard to like, because like sometimes we'll be like, okay, I'm going to read a bunch of employment decisions. And it's like, okay, but then they all mold together. So then sometimes it's hard when you're doing the intros to make sure you get the facts of each one separate, because they're all one big giant like wrongful dismissal in your mind. It's hard to separate them sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, like we both are articling students, so we spend a lot of the time doing legal research.
Yeah.
So, you can only read so much in a day before it gets all muddled up in your brain, and you have to try and cleanse it all out. That's why we record on Sundays?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the intros, we do them on Sundays.
Yeah. And you're dropping about one episode a week, is that right?
Oh, Teddy, come on now. Not one. We drop 1 million. We do an episode we do a collab on Monday.
Right. Yeah. You have the collabs going now too.
Yeah. And then we have 2. We're up to, so like Anthony is our audio engineer who does all the things. And so he doesn't have a heart attack. We do 2 full episodes a week. And then we do the bonus content in addition to the full episode. So we've put out, I have to update the list for today, but I think we're at almost 110
Look at us
separate episodes, but we're only at like episode 67 or 68, I think, officially, because we just have all the bonus content now.
Do you want to plug those collaborations, by the way?
Yeah. Okay. There's 1 million. Okay. So first of all, I have so many things. We collaborated with the Legal Writers Collective, which is a blog written by students out of Windsor and otherwise. The founders are at Windsor. And they actually just got a logo from Julie Lundy as well, and it looks very, very good.
So
I
good.
gotta have Julie Lundy as well. We gotta.
Yeah.
She's servicing all the
Huge
new
shout out.
Windsor
She really
media.
is. Yeah.
I messaged her the other day. I was like, Julie, you'll never have a problem finding a lawyer
Never.
anywhere in this province.
Never.
I
Oh, no.
promise you.
So yeah, we've got them. Check them out. They're Law Collective on Twitter. They're very, very cool. So we provide the actual audio recordings of the cases for the decisions they summarize. So you could like listen to, what are we doing on Monday? Listen to the Queen and Plange majority and concurring, and then go ahead and read the summary. So you would have a full understanding of what happened. And it's their Ontario Court of Appeal decisions.
And are the summaries recorded as well, or are they just
They're
accompanying
not
the recording?
yet.
Okay.
It's right now we're just doing the decision. We are working on it, getting the summaries done as well. That's like an in progress for future. So right now it's just the decisions. Then on Tuesdays, we have our collaboration with the British Columbia Provincial Court, which is super
exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Retired Justice Anne Rathwaite got a hold of us in the fall, actually, to collaborate on this project. And it took many months of sort of back and forth and working out the language and working out what we were going to do. And we officially launched it. I believe this week was our 5th or 6th one.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's very exciting. And so those
time is flying in some weird ways.
Time is flying. So those are actual audio companion recordings for the e-news blasts that the court puts out to the public. So these are 100% public facing audio legal material. So it's like, how do I fight a traffic ticket? What is hearsay? Do judges wear robes? Do Canadian judges use gavels? Like very general, accessible public legal information. And so if anybody had any sort of literacy issue and they couldn't read it, they can just listen to it because it's available in podcast form.
Even the idea of a court doing an e-blast, that's very forward thinking too. I really like that.
They're like leaps and bounds ahead. It's honestly amazing. I cannot say enough wonderful things about Justice Anne. She's wonderful. Yep. And she's been so great and supportive. And yeah, that court's doing amazing things out there. Truly, truly amazing stuff.
It's very helpful and very public facing, which I think, I mean, my really only experience is Ontario, and I always love to cite the Ontario Court of Appeal website. We've all been on it. We all know what it looks like. We all know how it reads.
Yeah.
BC is doing a lot of good work, and I'm really glad that we're able to partner with them. And I hope that other jurisdictions will follow suit. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Carly. I know we've got
totally
a
fine.
laundry list of other collaborations.
They're all in my head by days of the week. So then our next
we're still going with collaborations.
We're not done yet.
We are not done.
We're like 50% of the way.
Keep going. I love it.
Yeah. So we just started collaborating in the new year with Sarah Little, who is genius extraordinaire, all around superwoman.
We love Sarah.
Who we can't say enough good things about. There isn't enough time. I could do a whole hour on Sarah alone. She has her Little Legal Summaries blog, which is tremendously popular, and she won a Clubby last year as well. And Sarah's amazing, and she does what she started doing now, pivoting in her articling, and she's doing monthly summaries of the most important Ontario criminal cases that have come out in the month. So we have started doing the same thing as the BC court. So like the audio companion for Sarah's legal blog. So if you're a criminal lawyer and you need like, oh, what happened at the court this month? Like what's the things everybody's talking about? You can listen to it. They're usually like 20 minutes and you can listen to the top 3 or 4 cases of the month that Sarah's summarized for you and that we have recorded, which is super cool.
That sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah, that one's gotten a lot of traction.
If I could be so bold, if you are a criminal lawyer practicing in this province, you should probably start listening to that once a month. Yep.
That's
I've
what
used
we've
Sarah's
heard.
blog at work. I mean, it's been super helpful for me when I've had to refer to some other crim stuff. It's a great starting point. Sarah does such a good job.
Oh yeah. Plus it's a good like on your drive amount of time, right? Like it's not so long that you can't it's a commutable thing to listen to. You can just be like, oh, I got to go to the office. It's like 10, 15 minutes. I can just listen to it on my way in. Like it's not sort of an endeavor like some of our longer pieces. So it's really like accessible one in terms of easy listening.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then there's one more too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one more.
We've got one.
You caught me before I could move on.
And I think this is the one that Carly is the most excited to talk about.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
So,
best for last. Let's go.
Yeah, just so this week, we finally launched our collaboration with the Class Action Clinic here in Windsor as well. So I was an inaugural student at the Class Action Clinic. Me and Allie Lawrence were the first 2 students with Yasminka Klejic, who's my whatever. I could do a whole... You could do a series of me talking about how much I love and respect her. I think she's the most amazing person ever. So she very kindly agreed to let us do a similar thing to Sarah and the BC court for the class action clinic. So we're recording audio companions of blog posts that they do on the site. So right now we're getting through their back catalog. So I'm doing all the ones I wrote for them. We're getting some of the earlier students. We're recording those. We're giving the students at the clinic the opportunity to record their own. So it's been like a little bit of a delay because we're contacting everybody and seeing if they want to, because that way, if they're reading, we felt a little more comfortable asking them if they wanted to read it first, just because it's something they've written, like in a blog post. So we're working on that as well. And yeah, that's what to give Anthony a little break from editing longer stuff. That's what we're releasing till Monday. We're doing all these back catalog class action clinics ones. And yeah, I love, I'm not working in class actions now or anything, but I love class actions. I think they're really, really interesting. And so yeah, poor Zach, we've done so many class action things.
I don't know.
I'm just because I love
class
them.
actions are just like Carly. Every Sunday when we sit down to do these pre-recordings, Carly's like, so what do you know about this? It's like, Carly, I don't know anything about class actions. You are like the class action queen. Please inform me. And I love it. Class actions are so cool, but I know when I'm out of my depth.
Yeah. It's the same thing with me. If we get into anything like super heavy crim, I'm just like, I don't know the answer to this question. Like, you're going to have to do most of the filler on this because I have no idea what I'm talking about.
But when we get to privacy and employment, neither one of us can stop talking.
I know employment. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, privacy and I know employment. So we got a lot on those two.
Yeah, we can balance those two out.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, it sounds like you're both bringing kind of different spheres of expertise. You always have someone who can be informed on a topic, which seems super important for those little pre-roll bits.
Yeah, definitely. And there are certainly times when if we're really unfamiliar, we'll definitely try to do some background. So at least we actually have a basic understanding of why this is important. Because sometimes we record things because people want us to, right? And we don't have any background on it.
Yeah.
Family law is a huge one.
Yeah. So we'll have to do family law is a big one. So yeah, we are right now, we've very, very kindly had a bunch of people from the community record family law decisions for us. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to have to do our intros for those. And that will require back research for me and Zach, because neither of us know anything about that. And even just to do a 5-minute intro, we're going to have to become more familiar with family law.
Would you bring on a guest for those bits?
Maybe. Okay. So in theory, yes. The problem is sort of the how of how we do the intros, right? Because it's not like we're opposed to a guest. It's just that when we do the when we do the intro recordings, we do them in one big giant block, right? So we sit there and we record for 4 hours and we do 25 of them in a row, because that's the decisions we've recorded over the last 3 months that we have ready to go. And the intros are the thing we do last.
Yeah.
So it's more of a formatting thing, but we're not opposed to the idea of guests in future or anything. It's just right now, logistically, how we're doing that.
So you're on a 4-hour call on Sunday, just banging all these out one after another. That's amazing.
And you just watch Carly and I, our energy just by hour 4, and there's 8 more things. We're not.
We're cutting it.
We can't talk any more law today. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah. I'm a big over. I put too many things on the list. I order too much food. I'm just that type of a person. So I'll be Zach, here's a list. There's 600 things on it, and we'll be okay. And then after hour 3.5 hours, Zach is okay. So we're gonna do one more. So what's the one that's left that's the most important for the schedule? And I'll be okay, this one. And then we'll just go.
This is great endurance training for us, though, for, if we ever have to go back to court, we can talk.
I talk all day. Yeah.
Totally. So he's the restrained one. He's kind of reining you in on scheduling.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Someone's got to, or else we would never leave.
Oh, Anthony does it too. I'm just we should put out 9 episodes a day. And Anthony's okay, so we're not going to do that. So please adjust your expectations accordingly. And I was oh, okay.
Just gonna check in on the chat real quick.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people in here today.
Yay.
Numbers picking up big
I've got
time.
an eye on it.
Drawing a crowd. Obiter t-shirts. Yes, I agree. We definitely need Obiter t-shirts.
We're working on it.
Slowly. It's in there. It's in the miasma of Carly's thoughts. We've had some interesting issues. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, this is interesting. Do the justices know that you are podcasting their decisions? Have you had any judges that you've spoken to, other than the one you're collaborating with in BC, of course?
One does in Ontario.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead, Zach. Tell your tale.
So Carly, you recorded the case. What's the name of it?
My favorite one, my favorite
Yes.
case of all the
Your
times, the
favorite
Queen
case.
in Mavunga, my
Yes,
favorite
thank you.
case.
So
It's
the Queen
our
of
first
Mavunga.
episode. Yeah.
Yep, first episode. Justice Pomerantz was presiding.
Yeah.
I had Justice Pomerantz as a teacher when I was in law school for criminal law and the charter at
I as
Windsor
well.
Law.
Fantastic course.
Oh, such a good course.
Amazing.
So it was kind of before I started articling. And so I said, Justice Pomerantz, I just want to let you know about this podcast. We recorded The Queen of Mavunga. Thank you, for being a great teacher. And I hope you enjoy listening to it. And if you want to share it with fellow members of the bench, go ahead. So she at least knows we've recorded that case. I've also done 2 other of her cases. The trial decision and the sentencing of the Queen enduring.
Yeah.
So.
Very randomly, the Mag librarian knows who we are because I work for Mag. I won't say where, but I do work for Mag. So
that's Ministry of the Attorney General.
Yes, Ministry of the Attorney General. So the other day I'd asked her a research question and she answered me because she's fantastic. And she was like, by the way, congratulations on the podcast. And I'm just like, oh, that's weird. Because I haven't, not that I didn't really share it with anybody at work, besides like my fellow articling students and stuff. And yeah, I was like, that's so strange. So yeah, I don't know, whatever we're doing, librarians know about us and that can only be good.
I feel like librarians always know what's up. They know way more than they let on. They know all the new stuff coming out.
Like if I had to pick like one person to get me through an imminent apocalypse, it would be like Annette Demers, like immediately.
Same.
Like
Same.
100. The librarian at Windsor is the best.
Yeah.
And she could 100% ride out the apocalypse single-handedly. And she is who I would trust with my life.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I have nothing further to add.
Yeah, it's just Annette is queen. End of sentence.
Yeah. Advanced criminal law, another great course, essential for what I'm doing now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got.
Sorry, not advanced criminal law. Advanced legal research.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good class. I think
So good.
if you're at Windsor, definitely take it. It has
yeah.
saved me so much time doing research.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can note up a statute in Westlaw, didn't know that existed until I took advanced legal research.
Yeah.
Coolest ability ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
By the way, there's no set end time for this show. I figured
Okay.
that we'd probably go longer than half an hour because there's 2 of you and we got a lot to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about. But are you good to go until like 8 o'clock, or if we just keep going?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Awesome.
I thought it was an hour because I didn't know. So there you go.
Yeah,
Carly, like I said,
left ambiguous.
Carly and I are marathon
we just-
runners.
Yeah.
We talk for an egregiously long amount of time, so we're fine.
Asking when that special guest. Are we ready to bring our special guest?
We can bring the special guest. I will go get the special guest, and we will switch off on the computer. Special guest. All right, I'll step away. Let the special guest come on.
Very exciting.
I'm enjoying reading the chat, by the way. I've only ever watched Twitch stream, so this is a fun first.
Yeah, it's great. It's very active today. And this is the benefit of being on Twitch too, right? You can have some interaction with the chat. People are able to ask questions. Hello, special
Hi.
guest.
This is the best lit I've ever been in my entire life.
Does Carly have a ring light going there?
You better believe it.
Awesome. I'm missing that still. I need 2 things. I need a ring light and I need a good mic.
We
to make
have-
the show a reality.
Like windows right there. So, and I'm washed out because I face this way. And so when I'm on work calls, the sun is just coming in the window and I'm a silhouette.
no.
So all the people on my work calls can never see my face, which
That's
is fine
good.
by me.
Yeah, stay mysterious. Welcome to Lawyers Who Stream.
Thank
Meeting the legendary audio engineer who makes this show possible. Why don't you tell us your name and what you do?
Oh. All right, so I'm Anthony Radamile. I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal training, unless you count helping Carly study for 3 years worth of exams and listening to hundreds of legal decisions.
That's like half a law degree right there. as far as I'm
I
concerned.
mean, to be honest, I find myself saying things about Canadian law that don't even make sense to me, but somehow I just osmosis. So, as you probably know already from knowing Carly, she's a very go out and do it type of person. Like,
Absolutely.
why not? I have an idea, might as well give it a shot. And this is one of the ones where she threw it out there and I was like, I actually know how to do that. I went to undergrad in the States. So for audio engineering, I wanted to be a record producer or a recording engineer of some kind. And it just didn't work out. And then, I kind of dropped it for a while, and then she brought it up and I was like, look, well, it's been 10 years, but let's see if I remember anything. So we bought a mic and fitted out a closet and started recording super long cases, and I started editing them. And, she figures out a lot of the online stuff. I'm not a very online person, but I can do, I can sit and listen to audio and make it sound good. So that's what I do.
That's remarkable. I was under the impression that you did this as your day job, still audio engineering. I didn't know that this was, years old knowledge that you're kind of digging back up to make this work. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I'm always thinking about ways to improve it. So, but right now you heard her talk. We have 600 collaborations and there's tons of content coming out. So there's really, we need to find some time to improve some things. And there's some different things I want to do. And, you guys had mentioned having like a third person in for an intro discussion. And that's all stuff that I'm interested in setting up and getting done. And I just, as we grow and as we put content out, got to find the time to do some of that stuff. So hopefully we can get there.
Do you want to tease any of those ideas you're having now?
There's your standard, these could sound betters. I hear things that other people probably don't hear because I am kind of a perfectionist about some of this stuff.
Yeah, you kind of have that trained ear stuff that people wouldn't necessarily notice, but it still bothers you,
Oh, yeah. There's, based on the sheer amount of content, there's some stuff that I know is not perfect that I just have to say, put it out.
Yeah.
I would love to go back and re-record some of our earlier stuff. I'd like to re-record some of our like our standard intros and outros and things. We have my cousin Matt Rademile does some of the music for us, and so as we build out collabs, I always had this idea of having a different. We have like undertones under the music. Just if it's 4 hours long, you don't want to just listen to somebody talk, so we throw something under there.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to have. I always had this idea of like an audio signature. So like each collab has its kind of its own track underneath. So it kind of even if it's subconscious, it just distinguishes each collab from one another.
Yeah. Love that idea.
So, and then we can soundproof the room some more, get rid of some of that outside sound. I'd love to be able to provide guest readers with a little bit more support. Obviously we can't go anywhere or meet anybody in person. But I don't know how to explain what I'm envisioning because I'm not really sure yet, but maybe more one-on-one stuff because I have like because I had one with you, Teddy, right? So like
we talked just to get me ready for the recording, and I already kind of had the software loaded up, like I had Audacity, but you kind of gave me tips on make sure the input range is between here and here the whole time. Make sure you're doing this, taking breaks. If you give me advice like if you stumble over a sentence, start the sentence over to make your life easier. So that was super helpful.
I'd love to be able to do more with like some of the guest readers. Ideally, in the very distant future, I'd like to have the ability to have a booth where if somebody wants to guest read, they can come to a room in our house or wherever and do the reading there. And that way we can get like the top-notch audio quality and still get the outreach and the community engagement.
Yeah. That's going to be post-pandemic.
Obviously,
type stuff.
Distant future.
But you sort of have. You mentioned that you had a closet with soundproofing on it, but so you sort of have the beginnings of a booth already going in your home. Is that right?
Yeah, but there's a window in there, so we need. Yeah,
that's an issue.
So there's a bunch of just minor tweaks I want to do. There is the ability to. We have a YouTube channel, and we don't have a lot of video content, and I don't do any video editing, but even if like this appearance or if they wanted to film just general topics of conversations, people were throwing video versions of podcasts up online all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to talk about doing some video content in the future, I have the setup here, so we could definitely discuss that.
I
Um,
love the collaborations. Let's just add another one.
Yeah, add
no, I
another
mean,
collaboration.
I am out of time right now, and
Okay.
Carly wasn't kidding earlier when she said that she wants to just put everything up immediately. I assume she's typing in the chat right now
She is.
as me.
We're chatting.
Oh, is that
Okay.
Anthony? Oh, that's you. Oh, that's her talking as you. I was thought like,
That's
how is I'm
yeah.
like, how is he
No,
chatting?
it's
More
not.
collabs. Yeah. No, not to put anything more on your plate for sure, but I do. I mean, we were talking earlier about new media and how podcasts are great. Podcasts are they're starting to become more and more of them in the legal field, but there's a dearth of video content right now. So,
Right.
sort of looking at different ways to fill that gap.
I mean, I love all the insights. I like her brothers in the chat throwing out case suggestions. And I mean, Zach, I'm going to talk about some non-audio stuff so you can just jump in. But I would love, because accessibility is important. And we tried this last year. And I would just love to get in with some of the universities, like their disability services or their student help
Definitely.
centers, and just say like, hey, this is an option for any of your students who have an alternative learning method that they prefer, and kind of make sure that everybody knows that we're available, because we picked up a lot more traction than I thought. But like generally, I think, we can be on more syllabi, we can be in resource centers at these universities. And I think the only way to do that is to build the following that we are, and kind of just tell people about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We kind of hit a wall with that. I remember we reached out to the student law society groups, and I get it. Law students get inundated with emails all the time. So I think it's definitely something we're going to look to trying again, because Anthony's right. This is kind of why we started the podcast, was accessibility. It's not just that, students don't always have time to read, but it makes the law more accessible for everyone. And that's something that we should be working towards.
I think that's a great way to take it. I think that it's hopefully just a matter of time until these centers, these centers of the universities, notice what you're doing and realize that it's a pretty indispensable resource. So, yeah, I definitely hope that.
I think if we reach out again, and we pat ourselves on the back and write about the clawbee, maybe they'll take us a little bit more seriously.
Totally.
The 18 collabs that Carly's got us signed up for, I think we'll have a little bit more weight to throw around.
I think maybe like, hey, have you heard about the BC Superior Court?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to be on here praising what Carly's done for just engagement and outreach and all of her connections and things like that. And you, Zach, and Carly, you guys are growing it. I just, the back end guy doing the stuff, but there's no podcast without outreach. So, and
there's no podcast without an excellent audio engineer at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
I'd say don't downplay your involvement there. It just is indispensable.
It's kind of the keystone to our whole project.
Well, thank you.
Gladly.
But that's, I mean, unless somebody has a question for me, that's kind of my whole spiel.
I'm kind of watching the chat. There's lots of praise, lots of yes, our audio engineer king. Lots of.
I'm not interested in that stuff.
No kind words for you.
No, keep those.
Yeah, I think that we're good. You mentioned that your cousin's band that does
so
music for you.
My cousin Matt has a group, Rad and Kel. It's he and his wife. They do original music, they do covers, they do weddings, they do the whole nine. I can shout them out. I think they are radandkel.com. Carly will put it in the chat as me. There it is.
We're good.
But they put out a record, actually, since we're doing this.
Awesome.
Not that long ago. And I don't know if it was November or December. It's called Seasons. It's on Spotify and everything. It's just Rad and Kel. So if anybody's looking for any new music, check it out.
Definitely will. Always looking for new music. Anthony, thanks so much. It's great to put a name and a face to the mysterious A that does all the
I'm private
back-end
on
work
Twitter.
on the podcast.
Yeah. I can't comment on anything because nobody will see it. So I'll throw the face back on. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, man. Take care.
Thanks, Anthony. Like Noelle said, literally cannot have an audio podcast without the audio engineer.
Yeah, but he
Literally
hates
cannot.
praise though. So
But we're
I don't know what
lawyers.
to tell you.
Carly and I, we thrive on praise.
Oh yeah, like clap for me. I'm Tinkerbell. I'll die. But
remember
no.
when we talked about donating blood, how it's like the perfect task for us because people are
Everyone
like,
loves
"You're
you
so
when you
good."
get cookies.
Ooh, I should. I've been banned from donating blood because of my travel, but I think that ban is up now. That reminds me, I should give him a call. Carly, you're a beautiful angel, says Greg Mall
Oh
in the
wow.
chat.
There we go. But yeah, no, Anthony's hilariously modest because like literally the
I can tell.
podcast doesn't exist with all the work he does. And he puts a crazy amount, like me and Zach put in a lot of work, but like Anthony puts in a ridiculous amount of work. Like he's putting like, he already works like almost 80 hours a week at his actual job. And then he's putting in like another 20 to 30 hours a week on this, right? So like all weekend, usually during the day, he's just editing, and then he's editing at night if he doesn't have to work late and stuff. And yeah, he works all the time.
I thought I was busy this year, but
yeah, well, this is what happens when you you start a full-time job project while also working full-time. So.
Since we're talking about this being a full-time job, I know they're planning on launching something to go along with this. Do you want to give that a shout out?
Yeah. Definitely. So on April the 5th, we are officially going to launch our Patreon, which we are very excited to do. It took a while because like with COVID, literally just doing all the corporate documentation and getting the requisite bank accounts and hooking everything up has been like a whole time.
Yep.
But we actually officially got it. My mom is our first patron, so it officially works because we got her to do it. Noelle, who's in the chat, is our second patron. So there you go.
Oh, I gotta get in on this. I gotta be in the top 5. Get on the ground floor.
So they tested it out. It works. Everything's good. So I think we're gonna do it the 5th, right, Zach? Yeah, Monday.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna officially launch it on the
weekend.
5th after the weekend because we figure with Easter and Passover and stuff, people probably wouldn't see it this week.
Yep.
So we're going to officially launch Monday. And that is literally just for helping us reach the 3. So we have 3 pillars, which is our goals for the pod. It's open access, accessibility, and access to justice. And any money coming in from the Patreon just goes to those things, right? So hiring an extra audio engineer to help Anthony not have to work constantly, to do some of these smaller projects that we can farm them out to an audio engineer. We would ideally like to be in a place at some point where we can pay students who guest read for us. We would really like to get there so that we could provide some, modicum of assistance to students who are going through law school who want in on the project.
Yeah.
And other things, right? Like me and Zach sort of had like a 5,000 feet away, large scale picture of what we really want this pod to be. And, we would love it if it was at a point where we could give like a scholarship to a Windsor student every year because the podcast was self-sustaining, like a 5-year goal, right?
It's an amazing goal.
So it's like, we really do want to be able to have it be a viable resource. And to do that, we need funds to be able to do some of the stuff. So the same thing with the merch, right? Like we've got pins and stickers and shirts and sweatshirts and all this stuff like ready to go. We've lined up all the vendors. We have all the names, but the problem is like you need the money to get the merch to sell the merch. Yeah. So if we have our Patreon, hopefully in a month or 2, we actually have like the base money to be able to do that. And, we have it all set up with our, our bylaws and our corporate stuff. And so that's mainly the goal. The goal is to be able to give Anthony some respite from the whole year of crazy work he's been doing on this project, and then put us in a position where we can do more collabs and make more content and do cooler, newer stuff. And, we really want to sort of stay with our ear to the ground on what's developing in this new world of legal content. And, what we want to be in a position, we really want to be in a position where something like the carbon, I can't even.
The greenhouse gas, carbon pricing.
Sorry, my brain. Carbon pricing.
Yeah.
So we really want to be in a position where like something like that comes up on a Wednesday and we have both like the time and resources and structures in place to be able to get it out like within a couple of days, right? Because then we're going to be reaching the market of legal practitioners who are in practice who need this stuff very quickly. Because like we sort of have 3 audiences. It's like legal students, legal practitioners, and the public. And so being able to turn around new decisions quickly, like Noelle did for us with the Manassian decision, she recorded it on the same day. Something like that is something we want to be able to do all the time, not just like we lucked out that the day that decision came out, Noelle had the day off and she recorded it for us, right? Like we want to be able to do that on a regular basis. And, you know, to do that type of stuff, we need funds to be able to get the type of help that we need to do it.
Yeah, it'll just help us kind of crack through to that next level where we can push out more content faster when it needs to be, because Carly's right, like we have to strike sometimes when the iron's hot, so to speak. Like the gas sticker one that Carly did.
That got crazy traction.
Yes,
we did that this summer.
One of our best ones early on.
Oh yeah, you got that one out right away, right?
Yeah, we did it on the same day because like I had the day off. It came out early and I just like recorded it and we edited it and we put it out. And it's like that got crazy traction because I think it was before a long weekend too. So like lots of practitioners just like listened to it on the weekend, and to be able to do that sort of semi-regularly, you know, it's trying to really just set up the structures, right? Like I would love to have like a rotating list of 10 people who just read all the cases that come out of this one court. As we go. I would love someone who works in human rights law to record a bunch of human rights tribunal decisions for us, like stuff that like us as two people do not have the capacity to record this type of stuff. And we just, if we want to keep building, we need to, you know, and we've definitely, I mean, I know we've had great success and we're very grateful for it, but we've been trying to build at a pace that's more or less sustainable. I'm the person who's always like, no, more things now. But yeah, we've actually been building at a pretty sustainable pace. So we want to be able to sort of keep that up. And this is like the next step in that.
Sounds like something worth supporting. Do you have any tiers in place and rewards going on? Do you have a suggested level that you have people get in on?
Yeah, so we put it super low. So I think like the lowest level is like $3 a month. So it's like 3, 10, 25, or 100. Not that I expect anybody to pay 100.
You never know.
Yeah, we never know. But yeah, and essentially every tier essentially gets you the same thing. It's going to get you access to the bonus episode. So it's more of a like, if you believe in the project, support what you can type situation, as opposed to like every tier unlocks whatever. It's just going to be donate what you can, and every level is more or less going to get you the same thing. And what we're going to do, which is actually going to be fun, speaking of guests, is we're going to try to do some law media bonus content.
Ooh.
Yeah, as opposed to like, because like law can be heavy. So we want to keep the bonus content light. Yes. So I think what we're going to do is, we haven't quite worked it out yet, but we'll obviously will by the end of April, because that's when we're going to put out our first bonus content piece. But we're probably going to do like a podcast or something like this where, I don't know, me and Zach both watch like Runaway Jury or something. And then we just like talk about it. And, you know, that's the type of thing we would love to bring guests on to do. Just
watch old Law and Order episodes and point out all the wrong things that they're doing in the courtroom.
Exactly.
Like all the fun stuff.
Pure, like all fluff, no stuff.
Yeah, kind of similar to what the docket did. So they did the Making of a Murderer series, right? So they did, I think it was a 10-episode special.
So are we talking about Making a Murderer, the Netflix series? Or
yes, yeah, okay. Yeah. So the docket by Michael Spratt and Emily Taman. That's how I kind of got into legal podcasting. I'll give them a friendly shout out. So they did a 10-part
for sure.
Yeah, right. So they did the 10-part series, kind of being like, this is what it is, but here's how it would work in Canada, kind of thing, or what's different. Like I remember the one is like, Michael was like, I don't understand. Americans sit down when they ask questions. It's the weirdest thing in the world, because for everyone's benefit, when you talk in a court in at least Ontario, you have to stand up. It's different now with Zoom, but in the before times, you would have to stand to speak. So, you know, Carly and I can talk about fun stuff like that. And there's tons of good legal media to talk about.
Oh, I would definitely watch that.
Yeah, and we didn't want to make, like, we want to make sure that the Patreon aligns with the principles of the project, right? So, like, we didn't want to put anything substantive behind a paywall, because that goes against the open access principles of the project, right? So we want to make sure that anything that's going up on the Patreon is just, like, pure fun, just for, like, a thank you to people who are in a position to support the project. Like, that's all the bonus content's going to be. It's just going to be, like, a very heartfelt thanks content from me and Zach and Anthony to anyone who supports us, just because we would hate to paywall anything that is, you know, substantive or anything like that, because it's not our vibe. We don't want it to be paywalled.
Right. Totally love that idea. It sounds like amazing things are on the horizon. It's just the beginning for legal listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not even a year old yet.
I
Not even a year
know.
old. When is your anniversary?
It's the day after my birthday, August 24th.
Wow. So
We started working on it earlier. Like we started like getting mics and like recording stuff. Like we started doing that stuff, I think, in June.
Or are we going by the first episode debut as the anniversary?
Because I was still studying for the solicitor's exam, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
As I was still studying. So it was like doing crim stuff was like rinsing my hands of the solicitor's materials. Like, I can't do business law anymore. I've read too much.
But yeah, so I would say our official anniversary is the date of our first episode, which would be the 24th of August. But we have been like working on the project, I think, since mid-June.
That sounds
of last year ish or so. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Zach and Carly, thank you so much for coming on. This has been such an amazing chat, so enlightening hearing where you've come from, where you're going. I'm so excited for you both. And thanks for participating in this little experiment we got going on here.
Thanks for having us. This was a blast.
Thanks for having us. This was super fun.
What we do.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone in the chat who came out. Set a new record for viewers today. Hopefully we'll set another one next week. We'll see. But yeah, this has been a blast. Thank you so much again. Next week we have Andrew Rogers, who is a privacy lawyer who works at a hospital in Kingston. He works for the Kingston Health Sciences Center.
Yeah.
He is in the chat right now. Shout out to Andrew. But he will be our next guest, and after that, who knows? But yeah, lots of exciting announcements coming. Got those new graphics coming. Got the YouTube channel coming as well. And this has been episode 2 of Lawyers Who Stream. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Cheers. Yeah, and stay safe. Stay safe.
Always.
Yes.
Yep.